Have you ever wondered how the smoothest flight of NASA's Apollo program turned into a desperate race to save 3 astronauts' lives? That's the story we're diving into today. On April 11, 1970, Apollo 13 launched into space. The spacecraft, carrying astronauts Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise, was on its way to land on the moon. For nearly 56 hours, everything was going according to plan. The crew had traversed just over 200,000 miles from Earth and was nearing lunar orbit. They were managing weightlessness, performing routine tasks, and even found time to give a live TV broadcast, touring their spacecraft. The broadcast ended with Mission Commander Lovell's sign-off. "This is the crew of Apollo 13 wishing everybody there a nice evening." It seemed like another successful mission for NASA. And then, less than 10 minutes later, the unexpected happened. A routine maintenance task, a spark, and then an explosion. This was the shocking reality that the Apollo 13 crew faced on that fateful day of April 13, 1970. The spacecraft, which had been smoothly sailing through the cosmos, was suddenly enveloped in chaos. The crew had been conducting a mundane procedure, a task as routine as stirring a cup of coffee. This was the cryo-stir, a necessary operation to prevent the supercold oxygen in the spacecraft's tanks from settling into layers. But this time, the operation had an unforeseen and catastrophic outcome. When astronaut Jack Swigert flipped the switch to stir the oxygen, the damaged wiring inside the tank sparked a fire. Within moments, the mounting internal pressure caused the tank to explode. In the blink of an eye, the serene silence of space was shattered. The spacecraft jolted, alarms blared, and warning lights flashed, plunging the astronauts into a state of confusion and uncertainty. The crew, composed of seasoned astronaut Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise, had to grapple with the sudden and alarming turn of events. The explosion had caught them off guard. Lovell and Haise were in the midst of a casual conversation when they heard the deafening bang. They exchanged bewildered glances, their expressions echoing their mutual confusion. Down in the command module, Swigert's eyes widened in shock, a clear reflection of the ominous reality they now faced. In the midst of the commotion, Swigert managed to relay the now iconic message to Mission Control. "Houston, we've had a problem here," he said, his voice steady despite the dire situation. This simple phrase, later famously misquoted, encapsulated the immense danger they were in. More blinking lights soon indicated the loss of 2 of the ship's 3 fuel cells, which were crucial for their electricity supply. The situation was grim. What was supposed to be a monumental lunar landing had now morphed into an unimaginable crisis. The mission had suddenly become a desperate race against time and space. But how did this happen? Could it have been prevented, you might ask? Well, in the aftermath of the explosion, NASA launched an extensive investigation to answer these exact questions. What they found was a series of unfortunate events that turned an otherwise routine mission into a near disaster. To power the fuel cells that provided most of the electricity used during the flight, the Apollo spacecraft carried 2 tanks of liquid hydrogen and 2 tanks of liquid oxygen. The Nuntu oxygen tank on board Apollo 13, as it turned out, had a history. It had been accidentally dropped during maintenance before the Apollo 10 mission in 1969. This caused slight internal damage that at the time seemed inconsequential and didn't show up in later inspections. Fast forward to March 1970, during testing for Apollo 13, the same tank failed to properly empty itself of oxygen. The testing team, thinking they were solving a minor problem, decided to heat the tank overnight to force the liquid oxygen to burn off. However, the power surge from the high-voltage DC system on the ground caused the automatic shutoff switches on the tank's heater to fail. With no safeguards left, the temperature within the tank spiked to more than 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There were no external signs of this overheating, but the heat had silently wreaked havoc within the tank. It damaged the insulation on the wires inside the tank, effectively transforming this otherwise benign piece of equipment into a ticking time bomb. And so, with each passing moment, the mission's fate became more precarious. Unknown to the astronauts and the mission control, a disaster was brewing, hidden within the internal workings of the spacecraft. In retrospect, the signs were there, A dropped tank, a failed test, a heating system gone rogue. But without the benefit of hindsight, these were just minor glitches in an otherwise fine-tuned machine. This brings us to the chilling conclusion. The tank had become a bomb waiting to explode. In the face of disaster, NASA faced a daunting task: to bring the astronauts home safely. With the oxygen tank exploded and the Apollo 13 spacecraft crippled, the flight controllers and engineers at the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston, Texas, had to think fast, work around the clock, and improvise solutions that had never been conceived before. In the wake of the explosion, the crew had lost their primary source of electricity, heat, and life support. The immediate challenge was to provide enough power to the spacecraft for the journey home, while managing the limited resources available. The team on the ground devised a plan to power down the command module to preserve its remaining resources for re-entry, while relocating the astronauts to the lunar module, a spacecraft initially designed to ferry 2 astronauts to the lunar surface, not as a lifeboat for 3 astronauts for 4 days. The next hurdle was the trajectory. The Apollo 13 was on a path to circle the moon and return to Earth, but with the explosion, the spacecraft was off course. The engineers had to calculate a critical engine burn that would adjust the spacecraft's path and speed up their return. It was a risky maneuver as it required the crew to manually control the lunar module's engine, something that had never been done before. The last major challenge was the re-entry. The heat shield of the command module was designed to withstand the intense heat of re-entry, but there were concerns that it might have been damaged in the explosion. The engineers had to devise a way to orient the spacecraft correctly to ensure the heat shield would take the brunt of the re-entry heat and not the rest of the spacecraft. In the midst of chaos and uncertainty, the NASA team demonstrated unprecedented problem-solving abilities, innovation, and teamwork. They turned a potential tragedy into a successful failure, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Against all odds, the team at NASA was determined to bring their astronauts home. After a treacherous journey home, the Apollo 13 mission reached its end. The words hang in the air, heavy with relief and the weight of what had been accomplished. The date was April 17, 1970. The crew of the Apollo 13, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes, were back on Earth, alive and well. Their survival was nothing short of miraculous, considering the odds that were stacked against them. Let's take a moment to appreciate the enormity of their journey. Hurtling through the cold, unforgiving void of space, they were over 200,000 miles away from the safety of Earth when disaster struck. Their spacecraft, destined for the moon, was transformed into a ticking time bomb by an explosion in an oxygen tank. And yet, they survived. But how? It was a combination of factors: quick thinking, relentless teamwork, and a whole lot of ingenuity. The crew and the flight controllers and engineers at Mission Control back in Houston, Texas, worked tirelessly, improvising innovative procedures on the fly. With no precedent to guide them, they were writing the rulebook as they went along. In the end, their efforts paid off. The Apollo 13 crew splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, marking a successful conclusion to a mission that had taken a turn for the worse. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief as the astronauts were plucked from the ocean, their ordeal at an end. This moment was more than just a successful conclusion to a mission. It was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. The Apollo 13 mission serves as a powerful reminder of what we can achieve when we refuse to give up, when we push the boundaries of what is known and venture into the unknown. So, as we look back at the Apollo 13 mission, let's remember not just the disaster that struck, but the triumph that followed. Let's remember the 3 astronauts who, against all odds, made it back home. Let's remember the team at Mission Control, who worked around the clock to bring them back safely. In the face of disaster, the Apollo 13 mission stands as a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, a testament to our ability to face the unknown, to grapple with danger and uncertainty, and emerge victorious. It is a story of survival, of hope, and of the indomitable human spirit, and it will continue to inspire us for generations to come. But what did the events of Apollo 13 mean for the future of space exploration? The aftermath of the Apollo 13 mission led to sweeping changes in NASA's approach to mission safety and had a profound impact on the subsequent space endeavors. It served as a stark reminder of the inherent risks in space travel and the need for meticulous planning and preparation. In response to the incident, NASA implemented more rigorous safety protocols and enhanced testing procedures. This included a thorough review and redesign of the spacecraft systems to prevent a similar occurrence in the future. The mission also underscored the importance of teamwork, creativity, and resilience in overcoming unexpected challenges. These lessons have not only shaped NASA's subsequent lunar missions, but have also influenced the design and operation of current space exploration initiatives. The legacy of Apollo 13 continues to inform best practices in the field of space exploration, from commercial space flights to International Space Station operations. The Apollo 13 mission, a story of disaster turned into triumph, will forever remain a significant chapter in the annals of space exploration.